Oh, Pearson gets into the 95 of Fultz. Here comes the caution.
Flag is dropped here at Daytona and away. Go for the first time. Nicholas Porcel, Sean.
It looks like most get through unscathed. Look at that, there's Reed Gibson. A big move at the inside line of Dom's, possibly a little bit of contact.
Now as we've got 3 wide action going through turns 1 and 2.
And they're underway. Eric Hahn takes a nice jump. Wilson hasn't let him go very far.
Go out here for Circuit Spa Francorchamps. Alex Johnson's off to a brilliant start there.
Just how oddly shaped this one is. We saw in the background Eric Hahn go for a bit of a swing, and he's gone and he's over.
New stuff. Cody Graham is the one-on-one up into second place. Alex Johnson 6/10 the lead at the moment.
They're dicey up front. There's Andrew Kessel, Justin Sang. Good evening, race fans, and welcome back to the Alpha Touring Challenge. It's season 9 of North America's largest front-wheel drive series. As always, I'm your host, James East, with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Bringing the action 1080p, 60 frames a second, as it looks like drivers are starting to get gridded up here today. It's going to be a very busy grid here, I think. I'm seeing about 27 entries in today's main event. Starting on pole, James Carr, the number 19 machine. John Lawson starts second. Jordan Bachmeyer starting third. Logan McKenzie starting fourth. Francois Schink starts fifth. Dan McFarland starting sixth. Connor Atchitella starting seventh. Ian Diaz-Bertolucci starts eighth. Micah Hendricks starting 9th. Ben Aiken starts 10th. Brian Saab starting 11th. Christian Ost starts 12th. Cycling on back to Jesse Olsen starting 13th. Brian Sohn starts 14th. Raymond Toe starting 15th. Kurt Smith starting 16th. Eric Staitzer starts 17th. Zach Perry starting 18th. Mark Darnell starting 19th. Matt Zepka starting 20th. Damon Mitchell starts 21st. Kevin Clark starting 22nd. Luke Philippone starts 23rd. Anthony Probe starts 24th. Then we've got Mike De Almeida starting 25th. Trevor Lambert-Lee starts 26th. And Randy Ayers will round out the 27-car grid here today. We get ready for the field to get set. Still waiting on James Carr to make his way out onto the circuit. And it's going to be a very, very busy start here on the high banks of Daytona. Looks like the grid is set. We're going to wait for the lights to come on and then drop, and you'll see Barney, our flagman, throw the green flag for the drivers. And we are underway, green flag racing. Something has happened, as it's a very busy turn 1 here. Lawson's going to get clean. Micah Hendricks finds himself squarely in the middle, and I hear a little bit of contact. Damon Mitchell gets pushed off as well as Luke Philippone, Randy Ayers, Trevor Lambert-Lee. A bit of an early incident here. Back at the front, here's the battle for 8th. You've got, it's going to be Christian Ost and Logan McKenzie. But if we check in up front, John Lawson takes the lead away from James Carr early on. Now, following last week at Barber, we have a very tight championship. Logan McKenzie leads Micah Hendricks in the points by only 1 point here. And you can see the live timing to the left side of your screen to show just how tight the racing is. I mean, it's too wide just about everywhere you look. There is Jesse Olsen trying to fend off Brian Sohn. Brian Saab, Raymond Toe also in a battle for 14th. As we come out into the banking, too wide, too deep here. Now, talking to the drivers at Barber, I have not watched the Alpha Touring Challenge drivers battle it out at Daytona before, but they were letting me know that it's not as draft dependent as you would think. And we do have the sprint race. It's going to be a 20-minute way to start the evening. As John Lawson holds on to the race lead up front, you can see James Carr getting chased by Jordan Bachmeyer's number 151 machine. We go on board with Bachmeyer. He's working the draft against Carr, that number 19. Let's see if he pulls out here, as he's about a tenth of a second behind and not too far back, so we get a wide angle Dan McFarland, Francois Schink going to cross the line side by side and diving in deep into turn 1. James Carr closes the gap rather quickly, makes a move on John Lawson, who pushes wide out of 1. Carr back up front, Lawson will chase, Bachmeyer, McFarland, Schink round out the top 5. And no, John Lawson's going to have a bobble. No, that's Carr. Carr in the 19 loses a spot. Lawson takes back over the race lead. Here comes Bachmeyer in the 151 running third. He's looking to interject himself into that top 2. As it is about a 5-car breakaway here. Everybody looking for some real estate. Francois Schink tries the outside line. That number 18 machine not quite able to make it stick against McFarland, but is going to have the preferred line here. There's a little bit of rubbing between the two. Schink will take over the 4th place spot. McFarland and Bertolucci tucked in right behind. Drivers get a very brief break here through NASCAR's 1 and 2 before coming into the bus stop. Drivers hitting just over 150 miles an hour here before having to check up for the bus stop. And if that's not fast enough, leaving the bus stop, getting up to speeds of 170 miles an hour here on the high banks of Daytona. We've got an incident reported. Brian Saab looks like he's going to have an incident coming to the horseshoe, and it's going to drop down the standings. 12 positions lost so far. As we go back to the battle for the lead, coming out of NASCAR turn 4, crossing the start-finish line here at Daytona. 3-car breakaway, Lawson, Carr, Bachmeyer have about 6 tenths over Francois Schink. Schink has Bertolucci, McFarland, Ost right behind. Oh, somebody just got sent to the cheap seats. That was Francois Schink. It showed Bertolucci involved in that incident as well. Let's see what happened here. As Schink's going to fall all the way back to 17th. Does he get a little bit of help? Oh, almost looks like Schink pushes wide there. And Bertolucci is along for the ride. McFarland and Ost linked up for 4th, but there's Micah Hendricks in the number 1 machine. Again, Hendricks, 314 points coming to today's main event. Where is Logan McKenzie? He's way back there in 24th. McKenzie showing as a brief pit stop on lap 1, so not quite sure what that was for. If McKenzie was involved in an incident, maybe had to take a fast repair. So Hendricks is gonna keep the hammer down on the number 1 machine and see if he can capitalize on some points after McKenzie has a bit of a rough start here to the doubleheader at Daytona. Now James Carr up at the top spot. He was 3rd in points coming to this evening, so this could be a good points night for him as well, the number 19 machine. We go a little bit further back in the field. Pretty tight pack here in the battle for 15th. You've got Mark Darnell, Mike De Almeida, Matt Zepka, Francois Schink, who's going to try and remount a charge here. And we've got a tight battle for the lead. Is this going to be into turn 1? Yes, it is. Bachmeyer and Carr side by side. Bachmeyer tries the outside pass. Looks like he's going to make it stick. And will be able to block the drive out of Carr's number 19 machine, John Lawson. Looking for a top 3 here in the number 77 machine through the first horseshoe. It almost seems a little peaceful on the onboard, although we know it's far from. And look at that, Mike De Almeida getting chased by Darnell, Schink, Depka. 3 almost identical looking cars. Looks like Schink maybe has something a little bit different on the hood. But there's a swarm of teammates behind Mike De Almeida's number 6 machine. Also looks like Kevin Clark, the number 89 machine, looking to get a piece of the action. So that's going to be the Curb Your Enthusiasm Autosport cars. Looking nice and slick as always. We pan back up to the race lead. Bachmeier has yet to shake off James Carr, but as I pan, Ben Aiken finds himself pointing the wrong direction. I think that's going to be the bus stop here in this 623 machine. Hate to see that for Aiken. Oh, look at him, loses the rear. On his lonesome, lightly tags the outside wall, the tire wall. Thankfully, not too much damage there. And while this battle's going on, that's Sohn Toe Olsen. Bachmeier has taken back over the race lead from James Carr and sets the fastest lap of the race on 156.81. Notice he interrupted as it's showing James Carr now with the fastest lap. Now, one of the drivers last week at Barber Motorsports Park told me that the draft wasn't going to play that important of a battle here at Daytona. It seems like it's still tough for these drivers to really break free from each other. I mean, case in point, John Lawson has caught back up to James Carr in the 19 now. The saying here at Daytona is you don't want to be leading on the final lap. Is that going to be the same story for our Alpha Touring Challenge drivers? And if so, Jordan Bachmeier in the hot seat of this opening sprint. Now these guys have built up about a 3-second gap over Dan McFarland back and forth. McFarland has Hendricks, Oates, Bertolucci tucked in right behind. Bachmeier leading the field into the bus stop. Looks like Carr has a pretty good run here. Is it going to be enough to pull up to the tail of Bachmeier? Look at the trap speeds. Last lap, Bachmeier hit 171 miles an hour. Carr 168. Lawson 172. Carr going to pull out of the draft here as he is all over the rear bumper of Bachmeier, getting ready to cross the start-finish line. Lawson sets the fastest lap in the draft on 156.72. They stay nose to tail into turn one. The story's about the same right behind them, with McFarland, Hendricks, Oates, and Bertolucci in tow. I've got to say, as a driver here on iRacing, Daytona, one of my favorite tracks if you can get the right group of people together, and that is pretty much always the case here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. Some of the best front-wheel drivers on the iRacing service. And you can see those rear rotors glowing as drivers working to get these cars to rotate. These front-wheel drive cars, if you're on the gas, it wants to pull itself straight. Drivers will drag those rear brakes, trail brakes in the corner, helping to get that car to rotate. As Bachmeier and Carr pulling just a little bit of a gap there over Lawson. They may have a bit of a breakaway here as they're once again nose to tail. I don't know if there's a rule about bump drafting here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. Curious to see if these drivers are making contact on purpose as we would on the regular super speedway racing. We'll try and get an onboard with Carr next time they link up that close, but they separate just a little bit out of the bus stop. Now, an interesting fact for the fans at home, it only takes a 5-mile-an-hour difference from what your brain was expecting to trigger your mind into oh no, oh no, oh no mode. So sometimes with these drivers linked up nose to tail in the draft like that, they can kind of get a little bit faster than they were expecting to, and it can really throw off the reference points. With Bachmeier not having any problems out front, still getting shadowed by Carr and Lawson. Got a battle there for 6, Oates versus Bertolucci. As ahead of them, that's Micah Hendricks, Dan McFarland battling for position. looks like Hendricks and McFarland get a little bit of reprieve there from Austin Bertolucci, but not too much, as it looks like McFarland flashing the headlights at Micah Hendricks. A little bit of bumping and grinding going on here. Hendricks saying, or excuse me, McFarland saying, hey, we've got to go. The top three have pulled a 4.6 second advantage. We are past the halfway mark of this opening race of the night. As we pan back up front, there's Bachmeyer and Carr. I think there's a little bit of bump drafting going on here. Oh, that was a little bit of bumping against the wall there for James Carr. But the exit speed is good. Let's see if he pulls up to the back of Bachmeyer, who gains almost a full 10th out of the bus stop. And we're taking a live onboard view of Carr, the number 19 machine. And it looks like he's going to help facilitate a pass for John Lawson. Letting the number 77 go by into turn one. Maybe thinking Lawson will put the pressure on Bachmeyer, and Carr staying in position for what could be a last lap effort. Now we go back to 13th, and it's a very frantic raceway. You've got Smith, De Almeida, Zepka, Statzer. Wiggling back and forth here, everybody jockeying for position. Another little three-car pack. We have Brian Sohn, Jesse Olsen, Raymond Toe. Looked like Olsen was looking for a high-low there, not able to find it. Raymond right on his tail in the 996. I'm curious to see who's going to end up hopping out of position here. We go a little bit further ahead. Micah Hendricks still chased by Dan McFarland, but they're not gaining any ground on the top three. It's still Bachmeyer leading this main event. And Bachmeyer getting a lot of drive out of the bus stop. Putting a half second on Lawson and Carr here. And there's just great draft battles all across the track. You're watching Toe and Sohn side by side. Jesse Olsen trying to figure out who he wants to draft behind here. Let's see, Sohn takes over the 8th place spot a little bit briefly. He's going to be on the inside line, setting up for turn one. Jesse Olsen looking for the inside line, but they got to be careful. Zach Perry, Francois Schink starting to close back up. Francois was one of the fastest drivers we had in qualifying, qualified 5th, now way back in 12th. We've got Zen joins from the spectator area saying these TCRs look like a lot of fun. I think part of it's the Alpha Touring Challenge drivers. These guys are such top caliber drivers. Everywhere we look, there's always great racing. And Daytona and lower horsepower cars normally lends itself to pretty good back and forth. As I say that, Bachmeyer and Lawson leaning on each other. Coming out in the NASCAR turn one, Bachmeyer holds on to it. But now Lawson's going to have the draft support from James Carr, the number 19 machine. Lawson working the side draft against Bachmeyer here. He will get clear into the bus stop. Let's see what Bachmeyer does. He historically the last few laps has had fantastic exit speed out of the bus stop, and he's going to keep Lawson within striking distance, about 2/10 separating the top two drivers. Is Bachmeyer going to fire back here into turn one? He actually hops out of the draft slightly. But whatever strategy he has, it is working as he is right on the back of Lawson. Is Bachmeier going to try the outside line here? And look at the big send from James Carr up the inside. Going to elbow Bachmeier back into that third place spot. I think these drivers are going to have one more lap before we hit the 20-minute mark. And as Zen says, it's going to be a spicy one. I mean, these top three drivers have been going at it nonstop, and you can see that second pack behind. But who just set the fastest lap of the race? Logan McKenzie, the number 04 machine, qualified fourth. Unfortunately, after a lap one incident, he's back in 22nd. But keep an eye on McKenzie. If things can go better for the second race of the night, he is definitely a contender here at Daytona. He absolutely needs the points to minimize what Micah Hendricks, James Carr, Edward Gorman, Francois Schink are going to have here this evening. Back to the top three is Lawson, Carr, Bachmeier. Bachmeier lagging behind a little bit with Carr 6/10 off the back of that number 19 machine. Let's see what type of exit speed Bachmeier is going to get here into the bus stop. Drivers dragging mirrors along the banking here at Daytona before dipping into the bus stop. So historically, this is where Bachmeier has been strongest in that 151 machine. And he's definitely going to gain some time. Closes within a quarter of a second of Carr. So it's going to be close, but these drivers are going to cross the start-finish line before we hit the 20-minute mark. So this will be the white flag lap for these drivers. So the white flag is out for the opening race at Daytona, and it's a three-car shootout. Lawson, Carr, Bachmeier. With a comfortable 5-second gap over the rest of the field, this is where we're going to see who shows their cards first. Ooh, you can see Carr barely avoiding getting in the back of Lawson. We touched on it earlier. Sometimes you don't want to be leading that final lap. Lawson leading Carr and Bachmeier into the horseshoe. Carr looks for a different line. Lawson covers. Bachmeier seems like he loses a little bit of drive out of that corner. Not able to get the power down, come out of the banking that he was looking for. He's 4/10 behind Carr. Carr is less than 2/10 off the back of Lawson. If we're going to see some big moves, this is going to be it. Bachmeier needs to find some time here. As I think Lawson just gives a shot. No, Carr gives a shot to the back of Lawson. A bit of bump drafting going on. Bachmeier's closed the gap, coming out of the bus stop for the final time. It's horse racing here at Daytona. Lawson, Carr, Bachmeier separated by less than 2/10 between the three of them. Bachmeier goes high. Carr answers, shutting the door. Carr tucks back in behind Lawson, doesn't want to lose the draft. Bachmeier looks for an opening. We're going to go three wide here at the end of Daytona. It's Carr, Lawson, Bachmeier. As we come up to the line, who's it going to be? It's going to be James Carr. The number 19 machine brings home the win with Jordan Bachmeier second and John Lawson finishing third. We're trying to see how much time we're going to have before the second sprint race here today. It's my first time covering the sprints on the Alpha Touring Challenge circuit. Filling in for Mr. Mason Heimbaugh. And we're going to find out very shortly if we get a break. So we're going to try and get these top three up here to victory lane. Oh. And it looks like they're already there, so well done to them. We're going to get things started first with John Lawson finishing third out there tonight. John, what a shootout towards the end. I mean, you guys were all swapping back and forth, swapping a little paint, but got to be happy with the racing that was going on out on track.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. Yeah, that was a crazy finish too. But I was just taking my time for the first half of the race. I was wide in the first two turns on turn one, but the first two laps in turn one. But yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Now, does that change the strategy for the second sprint race here tonight with the inverted top 10, or is it just going to be wide open all the way around?
Oh, we'll see how the front pack plays it, but I don't want to drop them, so I'll be at least trying to keep them tight.
Awesome. John, I know we don't have much time before the feature sprint race, but before I let you go, who do you want to give a shout to that helped to make that third place possible for you?
Oh, I was 100% James. That was we worked together with that when we were talking through the whole race. I let him know when I was gonna dive down on the inside, but yeah, it worked out well.
Awesome. John, always a pleasure and best of luck out there.
Thank you.
That was John Lawson bringing it home in third. Up next, we've got Jordan Bachmeyer finishing second. Jordan, first question, am I saying that correctly?
You are.
Yes! Nailed it. Good to be up
Yes.
here. Jordan, that was a lot of fun for me as a broadcaster to watch. I mean, it almost was reminiscent of horse racing, that final lap, as you guys were three abreast and kept it extremely clean during that sprint.
Yeah, that's the fun thing with Daytona. The draft keeps everybody super close. And it's such a long run to the finish that, yeah, if you can set up the bus stop well, you can have some pretty fun finishes.
Now, it seemed like you spent the last couple of laps kind of trying things out in the bus stop, closing almost a half second to 6/10 second deficit on your two opposing rivals. So was that a little bit of strategy, trying to test the waters before the final lap?
Yeah, I was just kind of seeing how they're getting through the bus stop, where they're weak, and if I was able to get enough of a run to the finish, and just, yeah, trying a few things there.
Well, Jordan, a lot of fun for both myself as well as the fans at home. Before I let you get ready for this final sprint, who do you want to give a shout to that helps make second place possible for you?
I just shout out to Bravo Esports, team I race for.
All right, a man, a few words. Jordan, congratulations, buddy, and hope to have you back up here later on.
Awesome, thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. That was Jordan Bachmeyer finishing second. Up next, the man of the hour, or at least the first 20 minutes, James Carr. Welcome to the top spot, and what a great shootout between you, Bachmeyer, and Lawson there.
Yeah, that was an epic race. I didn't know how it was going to go. I was just anticipating at least a top 3 finish, and that's all I could really ask for.
Now, James, with this inverted top 10, what's the strategy, what's the play going to be to try and get through the field quickly while also keeping the number 19 machine out of the vortex of danger here at Daytona?
My best defense is to be aggressive. My best way to stay alive is to stay safe. So somewhere in the middle, I'm going to find a balance and hopefully not have an incident. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Hopefully the commentator's curse doesn't come home for you. But now, James, with that kind of inverted grid, and as you're saying, the right amount of aggressiveness, are you going to be trying to make those passes in the infield as they present themselves, or are you going to try and wait till some of the banking and kind of scoot around everybody?
With the wonderful chaos of a race at Daytona, I don't think I'm going to be able to call it. I'd like to do it anywhere that's easy, clean, and I don't lose a lot of time. we'll see.
Very well said. James, best of luck in the final sprint race of the evening. Before I let you go, I know time's short. Who do you want to give a shout out to that helps make this win possible for you?
John and Kurt, love having you guys on the team. John and I did a lot of work together to make this one happen, and came through. And yeah, that's about it.
Awesome, Carr. Always a pleasure, and best of luck out there, bud.
Thank you, sir.
That was James Carr bringing it home in the top spot of the opening sprint race. Now it looks like the warm-up session about finished, as we only had a 5-minute warm-up, so we had to do a bit of a rapid-fire podium celebration here, and we're going to get drivers back out on track. If I'm reading my race notes correctly, which is always kind of hit or miss, it's going to be a 30-minute feature race, a top 10 inverted, and only an 11 incident point limit here. So yes, we get confirmation. We are going to put them right back out very, very quickly as we get ready to start things off. Now the top 10 on the left side of your screen are inverted from the opening. So Francois Schink, the number 18 machine, I believe he was 5th in the original qualifying, will start in the top spot, so he's looking for a little bit of redemption. But race winner, opening sprint winner, James Carr, way back there in 10th. He is going to be in a bit of I don't want to say dangerous position, but has to be mindful of the traffic around him. Let us know in the spectator area who you're cheering for, as we're waiting for a couple more. Just one driver, Connor Achatella, the number 55 machine. Take the grid, and it looks like the grid is set. We'll fire up the lights one last time here tonight at Daytona. And we are green flag racing. Chink gets a pretty good start. Looks like Brian Sohn, the number 30 machine, also with a good start. And it's much, much darker, so it looks like it's going to be a night race here at Daytona. Sohn trying to work, I believe, the inside line against Raymond Toe. Here comes Dan McFarland, number 23 machine. He's going to muscle his way up towards the front. Now keep an eye out. Oh, I hear Carnage. Where is Carnage? There is Carnage. Jordan Bachmeyer, he's going to be involved in that one. Micah Hendricks goes off track. So Bachmeyer's going to fall all the way back to 15th, I believe. And I see drivers parked everywhere. Luke Philippone, Kurt Smith, Mark Darnell, Zapka involved. Kurt Smith takes a tow back to pit road. He is done out of this main event. We're dropping like flies here at Daytona. It's a 30-minute sprint race. Francois Schink holds on to the race lead. Raymond Toe right behind. Dan McFarland's moved up to third. Brian Sohn, Ian Diaz, Bertolucci up into the top 5 now. We check in on John Lawson, the number 77 machine. You already know what his results were for the opening sprint, and he is trying to get through the field here. Currently running 9th out on track in the 77, just ahead of Zach Perry and Mike De Almeida. It is a busy, busy racetrack. There's Kevin Clark, the number 89 machine, as we hint at 4 wide into the bus stop. Brian Saab, Anthony Probst, Mark Darnell were all involved in that. A little bit of that very tight incident. And here we go. Here's the battle for the lead, the draft battle. Francois Schink, Raymond Toe, Dan McFarland, nose to tail. You can see James Carr off in the background, all on his lonesome. On board, Dan McFarland's number 23 machine. Trevor Lambert-Lee, he's going to take a tow back to pit road. We will hold our positions into turn 1. Oh, I just heard somebody else sliding around back there. My goodness, what a busy racetrack as we are bumping and grinding. They are absolutely abusing the number 56 machine of Zach Perry. He gets bumped around by just about everybody. Let's get a replay queued up on that. Poor Perry was trying to get that thing settled in and just getting tousled around. I mean, he got hit on the left side. He got hit on the right side. And eventually goes off track, falls all the way back to 22nd. Not a lot of room for mistake when you have 25 some odd drivers battling so close for position. Up front, Francois Schink still leading Dan McFarland behind. They've got about a half-second breakaway from Raymond Toe, the number 996. As McFarland flashing the high beams at Francois Schink. Drivers having a ton of fun out here at Daytona. All about good racing with good friends here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. On board, Dan McFarland. We'll see if there's actually bump drafting in play. It's going to be pretty close if those two are actually making contact or not. Now, while that was happening, Connor Achatella involved in some sort of crash, including to be the bus stop. That's going to result in him taking a tow back to pit road, loses the back end. It looks like a very slow motion crash, a big swap, and absolutely drills the barrier here at Daytona. It's Schink, McFarland, Toe, 1, 2, 3. But James Carr rejoining the party here, the number 19 machine. He's up 6 spots. Hard Charger out on track, though. We called it in the first race. Logan McKenzie looking for redemption. Has gained 11 positions, now up into 10th, trying to minimize the point loss here at Daytona. It's a 30-minute sprint to finish off the evening here of round 8, season 9 of the Alpha Touring Challenge. Look at McFarland all over the back of Francois there. Now Carr set the fastest lap of the race on 1:57. I believe that's a 3.6, yes. Working that draft to his advantage. Looks like Achatella is going to return out on track. All 27 drivers still out there racing. McFarland looks to the outside line of Francois. Has to tuck back in to avoid losing too much draft. Let's see what Taylor the lap times tell here at Daytona as they make their way out of turn 4 through the tri-oval. And we're going to go too wide, too deep into turn 1. McFarland trying the outside line. Shink's going to fire back up the inside. And it was, I believe it was Bachmeyer just set the fastest lap of the race. So yes, a 1:57.07 as we're side by side for the race lead. Schink and McFarland pulling out all the stops. Here comes a big send from McFarland up the inside line. Muscling Schink outside. Here comes James Carr to rejoin the party, the number 19 machine, alongside the 18 of Schink. Raymond Toe, the number 996, he's also still very much in the battle. But while this is going on, John Lawson, Jesse Olson, Jordan Bachmeyer, Mike De Almeida, Eric Staitzer, Logan McKenzie starting to close the gap up here. And look how much tighter the field has gotten. It is going to be anybody's guess on how the top 3, much less the top 5, shake down here. I'm interested to see what McKenzie can do back in 10th. Can he pull out a top 5 and do something miraculous? McFarland has the race lead, 3/10 up over Francois. A bunch of off tracks there. Schink, Carr, both getting tagged. Let's see if there's a penalty. As it looks like Francois is backed off the pace. Here comes Raymond Toe, John Lawson. Schink's going to fall all the way back to 5th with that off track through the bus stop. McFarland's going to have a 1.3 second breakaway. Toe now up into 2nd in the 996. Lawson side by side. We were talking about what it was going to take to bring that top 5 together. Here we go. McFarland's got to be enjoying this. He's going to hammer down here. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to be able to break away much. He's got a 1.3 second gap from the rest of the field. But he's definitely going to enjoy the clean air while he can, try and relax his hands a little bit. Now we got a crash report. Randy Ayers is going to retire from this event. Oh, and he's going to get a little bit of help. That might have been the number 56 machine of Zach Perry. Maybe paying back the field a little bit here. As we saw, Perry got tousled around quite a bit early on in this main event. McFarland holds on to the race lead, 1.3 seconds up. Let's see if Toe and Lawson work together here to track down that number 23 machine. We've got about 5 minutes left to go before we hit that halfway mark of this main event. McFarland very clean out of the bus stop, gains another couple of tenths there. As it looked like, I couldn't tell, was that James Carr? Yeah, it looked like he was briefly hopping out of position to see if he could get around Francois Schink's number 18 machine. Lawson battling out with Toe for second. Toe's going to hold on to it here. Lawson still sitting third. The field punches up with Schink, Carr, Bachmeyer in the fray. Olsen running in seventh. He's starting to close the gap as well. And here we go, another big sin. John Lawson, the number 77, taking over the second place spot, putting Toe down another spot, and that's going to allow Carr, Schink, and Bachmeyer to join the fray. Bachmeyer up 3 spots in the 151. You heard him in the interview. Not sure when to be too aggressive, when to play it safe. This is the racing we've come to expect from our Alpha Touring Challenge now. While Lawson and Toe are battling so fiercely for second, McFarland's pulled almost a 2-second gap out front. McFarland would love for nothing more than the other drivers to keep passing back and forth, slowing down the race pace and allowing that number 23 machine to check out. Now McFarland, all out there in his open, did set his fastest lap of the race last time by a 1:57.42. Lawson and Toe need to work together for a little bit here to track back down McFarland and make sure they're going to be in contention to battle for the race lead. I mean, look at the live timing tower on the left side of your screen. Just about everybody inside the top 10 except for McFarland within about a half second of each other. McKenzie, we've been following along that storyline, has moved up to 8th place, 13 spots gained. McFarland crosses the line. Last time by a 1:57.42. This time a 1:57.33, so he's feeling even faster. And McKenzie back there in 8th. We just talked about him. Clicks off a 1:57 flat, so he's feeling good. Finally in the groove here at Daytona. Side by side goes Toe and Carr, battling for third. Francois Schink wants to maybe make it a 3-wide situation. That'd be a gutsy place to do it. Bachmeyer in the 151, currently 6th, up 3 positions. Now these drivers are catching up to McFarland ever so slowly, but now even John Lawson, right in second, he's got a 1-second gap on 3rd place back. Bachmeyer and Toe still side by side. That's going to be the 4th place gain for Bachmeyer. Toe looks to the inside. Doesn't quite make it stick, and I think Bachmeyer is going to have a little bit better exit out on the high banks of Daytona. Now in the opening sprint, Bachmeier was extremely strong into the bus stop. It's going to be interesting to see if he can gain any of the 8/10ths back from James Carr. Francois Schink linked up nose to tail, 3rd and 4th. Now McFarland leads the field. Lawson sets the fastest lap with clean air of 1:56.96. And McFarland has to keep an eye on the relative as we pan back. There's John Lawson within a second of McFarland for the first time in a long time. I'm very intrigued to see how this is going to go. I mean, that's the entire top 10 in frame right there. So McFarland now 9/10ths up over Lawson. Lawson has about 6/10ths on Carr. Now Lawson has some momentum built up. Clicked off the fastest lap of the race last time by. Oh, but has to be mindful of the off tracks in the bus stop. We've seen the slowdowns really throw off drivers. I mean, it was Francois Schink we saw earlier on, the number 18 machine, who pushed very far off track and lost a whole lot of time. As Bachmeier, we talked about his exit speed at the bus stop. Looks like it's working well for him. He is back to the tail end of Francois Schink again. Separated by less than a tenth. Bachmeier looks to the outside line in turn 1. Lawson sets the fastest lap of the race again. No, it's going to be answered by Bachmeier immediately, a 1:56.428. Bachmeier has some steam built up. We are past the halfway mark. Drivers have been displayed the cross green and white flags here at Daytona. It's McFarland, Lawson, Carr, your top 3. Bachmeier and Schink make up the top 5. Lawson has company. He's got Carr a 1/4 of a second off the back. McFarland 8/10ths ahead. All eyes are forward for that number 77 machine. Lawson came into tonight 11th in points. He's got one win so far this season. McFarland trying to build up some momentum as well. He's looking for his 2nd career win here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. Here we go, McFarland. 7/10ths ahead. Lawson finding a little bit of time, makes it 6/10ths. McFarland had a little bit of a bobble on the bus stop there. Here comes Lawson and Carr linked up nose to tail. Carr hops out of the draft, a very interesting move. It almost looks like he's trying to get a little bit of downward momentum on the banking. I'm not sure if maybe that's a strategy call for the lower horsepower cars, but it seems to be working as they're catching up to the back of McFarland's 23 machine. Lawson and Carr linked up nose to tail. Oh, it's going to get dicey into turn 1. McFarland and Lawson side by side. McFarland covering the inside line. Here comes Carr taking over the second place spot from Lawson. It looked like they had their focus on McFarland there. And next thing you know, Carr's going to grab another spot. Other notable battles out on track, you've got Damon Mitchell, Zach Perry battling for the 15th place spot. Right behind them is Ben Aiken, Mark Darnell, and Brian Saab in the number 52 machine. Saab is up 4 spots, Darnell up 2, and Ben Aiken having a great night so far in that 623 after a rough opening. He is up 8 spots so far. Hard Charger out on track though. Still Logan McKenzie in the 04 up 13 positions. Well, let's make it 14 as McKenzie just makes his way around Jesse Olsen. And up ahead, we're still having a battle for the lead. Dan McFarland, James Carr, side by side into the bus stop. It's going to be McFarland holding on to the race lead here. Let's see what Carr can do. Very equally matched. You see Carr flashing the high beams at McFarland. McFarland was doing the same earlier on in the race. It's going to be about 10 minutes left to go as these drivers cross the line. And it's going to be side by side. Carr wants the lap-led credit. And he's going to get clear here. McFarland, a massive run out of the number 19 machine. McFarland up the inside line, trying to make Carr go the long way around, and it's going to work well. And Carr flashing the high beams, might have been too busy hitting the button. Here comes Sean Lawson, taking over the second place spot. Jordan Bachmeyer also in the mix. Bachmeyer makes another move on Carr. Carr now falls back to 4th. Has to be careful. Francois Schink here in the mix. I'm not sure if that was a high beam flash of, hey, I'm having a good time, or maybe a little bit of anger out of Carr in that 19. Luckily, even though he's fallen back to 4th, still within a second of the race leader, Dan McFarland. So it's McFarland, Lawson, Bachmeyer, your new top 3. Carr and Schink make up the top 5. We've got a crash report. Mark Darnell has some sort of issues in the 83. Pushes wide in the first horseshoe. There's the off track. Don't have been involved in a crash. But I guess that was the crash. Thank you, iRacing broadcast software, for continuously keeping us on our toes up here in the broadcast booth. McFarland has John Lawson a 10th off the back bumper of that number 23 machine. Bachmeyer, Carr, Schink, Toe still within striking distance as we're side by side into, that's going to be turn 1, and what just happened there? That was Dan McFarland. What just happened? Let's get the replay queued up as McFarland now all the way back to 6th. What on earth did we just witness? Was there net code between McFarland? No, the 77 of Lawson looks like he comes down. McFarland now turning that front wheel drive car into a rally car. Almost slides up into traffic. I mean, we've seen oval races with that happening, but this is the first I've ever seen for road course shenanigans. I'm almost at a loss for word, and that does not happen often. So it's Lawson as the race lead now. Bachmeyer all the way up into 2nd. Francois Schink in 3rd. McFarland has fallen all the way back to 6th, just ahead of Logan McKenzie. Now, Micah Hendricks also having a rough race tonight. The number 1 machine came into today with the points lead. He is all the way back in 18th. I'm going to be intrigued to see what the stewards say about that incident. As Carr muscling his way through the field. That's Raymond Toe, the 996, just ahead. Now, with about 6.5 minutes left to go, I am hesitant to say McFarland has much of a fighting chance here. And no, McFarland's going to come down pit road. He's got some sort of penalty. Things go from bad to worse for the 23 machine. And he is effectively out of this main event. Lawson and Bachmeyer separated by 1/4 of a second. They've got almost a 2-second advantage over Francois Schink. Schink has Toe and Carr right behind. Oh, that's gutting McFarland all the way down to 14. Was looking for his 2nd career win here. As we've got 5.5 minutes left to go here at the Alpha Touring Challenge, Season 9, Round 8 at Daytona International Speedway. It's Lawson, Bachmeyer, Schink, your top 3. Carr and Toe make up the top 5. Now we got to report McFarland is going to roll back out of pit road. I think that was some sort of penalty, so he's going to get back on track. Unfortunately, showing 20th on the leaderboard. Oh, I can't believe it for McFarland. So disappointing. Now, while this is going on, Lawson and Bachmeyer continue to pull a bigger gap over Francois Schink. And they are still nose to tail. Bachmeyer all over the back bumper of Lawson here. Now both Lawson and Bachmeyer up 7 spots from where they started. It was Lawson, Bachmeyer, Carr, 1, 2, 3 in the opening sprint. Almost identical to that right now, except Francois Schink interjecting himself in the party. Let's pan back to Francois Schink. There's a little bit of a gap now, about a half second between Lawson and Bachmeyer. And look at this 3-car battle for third. Schink, Carr, Toe. If Carr can get around Schink, it's going to be almost an identical top 3 as the opening sprint. And they are both Schink and Carr fighting for line choices to see who can get the best drive out of the corner. Now with this battle for third, they're slowing the pace down. Lawson and Bachmeyer extending the gap up front. Carr pushing Schink into the bus stop here. And it looks like Carr is going to have fantastic drive out of the bus stop. A big run here. Is he going to go for the pass? Is Toe going to follow suit? Or leave Carr out high and dry? Carr and Schink side by side for third. Carr looks like he's going to have third place as Schink tries to fend off Raymond Toe. And Carr will move up into third. That's his 7th spot gain. 7-7-7. Laws, Bachmeyer, Carr. all gaining 3 spots each. Now Bachmeyer, that last lap, we saw him get within a 10th of Lawson, maybe measuring up that 77 machine. Once the white flag is out, I think it's going to be a game of cat and mouse here. I would not be surprised. Oh, this is a tough call. Bachmeyer's been so strong out of the bus stop. It's one of his best parts of the track for him. Normally, I would say I wouldn't be surprised to see Lawson lift a little here, let Bachmeyer lead into the bus stop. That way he could get the draft pass to the end, but with just a 2-car shootout, these guys are definitely going to be playing high-speed chess, hitting speeds right at 170 miles an hour as they come to the tri-oval. So with about 45 seconds left to go in the race, they should be taking the white flag this time by. Lawson's going to lead by about 0.3 of a second. Let's see how much Bachmeyer closes the gap here. I don't think Bachmeyer wants to show his cards too early. So the white flag is going to be out for John Lawson and Jordan Bachmeyer. Let's go a little bit further back. This will be the 3-car battle on the final lap for third. It's Carr, Schink, Toe. Separated by less than 0.3 between the 3 of them. Carr holding on to the 3rd place as Schink and Toe try and get things settled out behind them. Damon Mitchell, Ben Aiken battling for the 11th place spot. Side by side as they cross the start-finish line. Here comes Zach Perry, the number 56 machine. Oh, a little bit of contact there. Easy does it, boys. We're in the final lap. Now, a thumbs up to Damon Mitchell as well at 27. He's up 13 spots as well as Ben Aiken. McKenzie still holding the hard charger award, up 15 positions. But we are rapidly running out of lap times as we will be seeing the checker this time by as Carr and Schink continue to battle for the 3rd place spot. Here we go for the final time on the high banks of Daytona. The checkered flag is out. Lawson and Bachmeyer are going to head into the bus stop. Expect to see Bachmeyer really on the gas here. This is going to be the battle for the lead, the race win here. Bachmeyer 0.2 off the back of Lawson. Is he going to have the run he was looking for? He gains 100th here, 100th there. It's within a 1/10.5. Oh, it's going to be close. Bachmeyer hops out of the draft. Is it too soon? He takes over the race lead. Lawson's going to hug the bottom of the track, making it as tight as possible. But Bachmeyer brings home the win here at Daytona, and James Carr will bring home 3rd. We're going to get our top 3 up here to victory lane. As Lawson and Carr enjoying the cool down lap here at Daytona. We've got Bachmeyer join us in the waiting room. We're still waiting on Lawson and Carr. And then we'll get the interview process started here. So still waiting on James Carr and John Lawson to make their way up here to the booth. And then we will be good to go. We're waiting on Carr and Lawson. I don't know where they went. Maybe they got lost. Because I'm not seeing them. Ah, here we go. All right. The gang's all here. So starting things off, we're going to get James Carr joining us, the number 19 machine. James, I mean, you've got to be tired after that. There was no chance of a break there in that 30-minute moto, and it was nonstop pressure from shank and toe in those last few laps for you.
That was one of the hardest times I've ever had to work for a podium. That was tiring.
Yeah, I mean, the draft was a big part of it, but I mean, even through the infield, it was nose-to-tail action, and any little mistake, it was almost a quick way to lose 5 spots here at Daytona.
Absolutely. You know, it was it was good to be able to pass the Audis like that, but it didn't feel fair. So that was a little bit unfortunate. It's a little bit bittersweet for passing them like that. But you know, I was really in sync for the infield there, and I felt great.
Well, it seemed like it worked out well for you. A great points night for you in that number 19 machine. Now, what was the expectations coming to the sprint? Was it going to be survival, see what happens? What was the plan?
Going into this race, I was not optimistic at all. But luckily, John is my teammate, is a bit of an alien here, so I put a lot of time into studying his laps. And for the first sprint, I knew if I was on pole, I'd have a good chance at winning. And then for the feature rather, it was just survive, man, just survive, and you're gonna do all right.
Well, James, glad it worked out well for you. Good to have you back up here twice tonight. Before I let you go, who do you want to give a shout to that helps make this podium possible for you?
Everybody around me that raced clean and fair, that was awesome. Francois was great. Jordan was great. I wish I got to battle Dan a little bit more. And then finally, to wrap it up, always to the team. The boys are great.
Awesome. For the boys. James, always a pleasure, man, and I hope to have you back up here next week.
We're going to try.
That was James Carr bringing it home in third. Up next, we've got John Lawson, the number 77 machine. John, welcome back. Seems like a very familiar group up here in the podium room tonight.
Yeah, kind of a repeat of it. And a very close finish again. I had, 300ths of a second both times? But anyway.
Yeah, I mean, super close. Now, we know Bachmeyer was super fast coming out of the exit of the bus stop. And we're talking about the broadcast. We've seen it before on draft-heavy tracks. How much of a game of chess is it in that final lap, knowing not wanting to show the cards too early, but not wanting to give your competitors a chance to strike earlier than you were expecting?
Oh, yeah, 100%. A few laps before that, I was trying to mess with my lines just to prevent him from getting as big a run as he could have. But that's why I was trying to go high and then low again, but didn't really work out. He still got me at the end.
Now, were you expecting to have that much of a breakaway at the end? We had Carr about 4.7 seconds behind you, and he had Shank and Toe right in tow, and it ended up being a 2-car shootout. The opening sprint race, I would have thought we were going to have 5 to 8 drivers there in the final lap battling for the win.
Yeah, well, Jordan was actually working with me, and he was pushing me along to get that separation, and then I guess he didn't want any more challenge for the lead at the last lap.
Well, like you said, it's a high-speed game of chase. You guys hitting, I think Bachmeyer hit 173 miles an hour that last lap, so you guys were absolutely cooking in the Alpha Touring Challenge. And John, great to have you back up here, back-to-back in the sprint race at Daytona. Who do you want to give a shout to before I let you go and celebrate with the rest of the hooligans?
Oh yeah, it was fun working with the setup with James this week, and yeah, just learning the track with him. That worked out great.
Awesome. John, always a pleasure, bud, and hope to have you back up here next week.
Thanks.
That was John Lawson finishing second in the number 77 machine. Up next, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Jordan Bachmeyer, the 151 machine, up 8 spots back-to-back here tonight. And I mean, can you ask for a better evening?
No, that worked out pretty well. I didn't think I was going to be there at the end, going how the start went, getting caught up in some stuff, but worked out well. They kept battling, so let me catch back up.
Yeah, a lot of shenanigans out on track there, but Jordan, we were watching it seemed like you gave up a little bit of drive coming into the high banking of Daytona, but had the car really dialed in for the bus stop. I mean, you had some of the best exit speed through that section all night here tonight. What was the trick to getting the car so dialed coming here to the evening?
Yeah, I was struggling a bit in the infield 'cause I had to push really hard to catch back up, kind of overworked my front tires a bit. Yeah, I mean, the most important turn on this track is the bus stop. So it's just repeatedly practice that set of corners and just make sure you can nail it through there. Yeah, I had to be a little careful. I was a little high on incidences from the start of the race, so I had to take it easier for a little bit. But I saved up enough at the end to where, like, if I had to really push it through the bus stop, I could. Yeah.
Well, it seemed like it worked out well for you, up 8 spots from where you originally started this race with the inverted top 10. What was going through your head having to battle through traffic in those opening couple laps where you're kind of squarely in the meat grinder and focusing on getting up front as quickly as possible?
Yeah, I was trying to get a really good start. I got through turn 1 really well. Then there's the incident, and I think it was turn 3 where there's some punting going on that I got caught up in, and then I was just basically hoping to survive, hoping the leaders or the guys ahead of me would battle and keep slowing themselves down to, like, let me keep closing the gaps. Yeah, a lot of it was just trying to survive. Yeah.
Well, it worked out well for you, Jordan. Good to have you back up here in the top spot in that 151. And you've got the privilege, the pleasure, the final send-offs of the night. Who do you want to give a shout to that helped make it happen for you?
Just the alpha guys all together, just putting on this league. It's a good group of guys. It's fun. John and James, it was really good battling them tonight. Nice, clean, fun racing. And then my team, Brabham Esports.
Awesome. Jordan, always a pleasure, bud. Hope to see the continued success, and congratulations on another great win here tonight.
Thanks, James.
That was Jordan Bachmeyer bringing it home in the top spot here at the Alpha Touring Challenge. As always, my name is James East with Team Goon Squad Broadcasting. Thank you all so much for spending your Monday night with us, and we'll see you at the next one. Have a great night, everybody.